Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be talking about Google Classroom grading and comment features with the amazing Megan Damrell. So Megan, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Megan Damrell. I am the Digital Integration Specialist at Dickinson, and this is my 18th year of teaching and my 11th year in South Bend.
Well, thanks for presenting today, and any questions that you guys all have, as always, please put them in the chat and we will do our best to address them throughout the presentation. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And Megan, I'll let you start.
Absolutely. And let me start by saying sorry for the late start. I had to move rooms last minute, so it just took me a minute to get set up in another room. So today what I wanted us to look at are some of the different commenting and grading features that are available in Google Classroom. And essentially there are three main types of comments that we as teachers can use within Google Classrooms. We have public comments, and then of course you can kind of see these are available to everybody. And these are great for helping to build community with your students. You can reply to individuals and you can mute individuals. Then we have our private comments, which are just between you and a student. And then we also have all the comment features that are available when you are grading assignments within Google Classroom. So I just kind of want to go through the different types and just show you some things with them and what you can do. So we're going to actually start with the public comments. So these are comments that everybody who is a part of that Google Classroom can see. So these are comments that are available to everyone. And these are great for like when you're asking little questions for students, you know, to kind of build that community back and forth. And I find that especially like right now, our kids are just grasping. They really want to feel connected. Because we're not seeing them every day. So this is a great way to kind of help build connection and kind of create a conversation. So there are a couple of things I want to make sure that we know. So I'm going to go to, so I have a demo Google Classroom where I have something, I have lucky enough to have 2 kids in the school corporation, so I use their accounts a lot. Plus I have a few teachers in there as well. If you don't have a demo classroom, I highly suggest creating one. You can easily create one. It's just great for being able to practice if you're not sure what to do in your actual classroom first. So the first thing that I actually want to share is a lot of times when kids get into a Google Classroom, this is the type of stuff that you start to see, right? Kids will just start typing anything in. I love puppies. Hey, with like 50 Y's and 25 exclamation points, and they start putting this stuff over and over, and it kind of clogs up your stream. So one thing that you really kind of want to think about when you're doing this is I would actually turn off a student's ability to post things, but still be able to comment on things. So the way you can do that is in your class settings. When you click on that settings cog, if you come down a little bit under here where it says stream, there's a little drop down menu. So you have it to where students can post and comment, students can only comment, or only teachers can post. I would set this to where students can only comment. That means that they can't go in there and add all of those, I like puppies, I love rainbows, what day is it? You know, things of that nature, like those random things that they put in there. They're still going to put those random things in there, but they're going to be as public comments and not clogging up the stream. So once you do that, you do have to make sure you click save in the corner to make sure those class settings take effect. So public comments. If you look like down here, this is a public comment down here, or where I, as the teacher, put in, hope y'all had a great weekend, drop a comment about what you did. So this is where I can kind of create that community with my classroom. Right now I can only see one comment, but I can see that I have 4 class comments. If I want to see them all, I can just open this up and then I can actually scroll through all those comments. And I will say, if you put something in there for kids to comment on, you as the teacher do need to go back and read those comments, because they will still put random things in here like subscribe to my YouTube channel and things like that. So these are public comments. Everybody has access and can read them, and students can also reply to them. So as long with the teacher. So like this one says, I went camping on Friday night. If I hover over the comment over here on the right-hand side, I can then just click that little reply button, and then it'll send a reply straight to that student. And then I can just type whatever I want to say to them, like, awesome, where did you go? And then later when he sees that comment, then they can go back in and get that comment. And so he'll know that that comment is directed directly to him. Another thing you can do with public comments is if you misspell something, you do have the ability to edit them. Or if you put something in there that was not right and you need to go back and fix it, you can edit public comments, and you can also delete them. So if you have a student who puts an inappropriate comment, you can go through and delete that comment. And if they have multiple offenses with inappropriate public comments, I would mute that individual student. And when you mute a student, the only thing you're taking away is their ability to put in public comments and reply to their classmates. So that's a really nice kind of feature to help with some of those things. So those public comments are really nice for helping to kind of do something with the entire class together at one time. So kind of before I move on to the private comments, does anyone have any questions in regard to public comments?
There aren't any in the chat as of right now, but let's give them a couple seconds.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't see anything popping up.
I think most of us are familiar with the public comments. Most teachers leave that open.
Let's go ahead. We can move on. If there's any questions about the private ones, feel free to put them in the chat.
Absolutely. All right, so the next type of comment is probably one of the most underused comment, and that is the private comment. So private comments are different than the public comments because the private comments are a dialogue with an individual student. So it's a way for you to carry on a conversation with a student one-on-one. It is not anything you put in the private comments is only visible to that student. Anything that the student puts in a private comment is only visible to you as the teacher. And we all know we have those kids in our classroom who maybe they're not willing to put a comment in those public comments, but maybe they'll send something to us privately. They just prefer that kind of anonymity. And that helps us provide that for those students in this Google Classroom platform. So these are great for that individualized dialogue for them. Now, I will say this, one of the biggest differences between public and private comments is that if you look right here, private comments cannot be edited and you cannot delete them. So if you are sending a private comment or if a student is sending a private comment, this would be something that you would have to teach them. You really want to make sure that you reread your comment before you send it because you can't get it back once it's sent. So you do still have to, you do need to be a little bit more careful with private comments. And private comments are great because if you have to mute a student because they don't know how to behave correctly in the public comments, they do still have the ability to send you, the teacher, private comments. So one thing that you can kind of do is I'm going to go back into this Google Classroom and I'm going to come up to classwork. So you can actually create assignments where their instructions are to answer in the private comments. So for example, this is an assignment, and if I click on, it says add your answer in the private comment. Your grade will not be released until you comment and respond to my comment back. So I'm expecting them to kind of start a dialogue with me. And then I put my question or my prompt that I want them to answer. So if I click View Assignment, as the teacher, what I'll be able to see is I'll be able to see anyone who has put those private comments in, and I can also see if someone has it assigned but hasn't clicked Turn In. So if I click on this student right here, I can see their private comment down at the bottom. I mean, you notice there's nothing here in this top spot. That's because I didn't actually like put a Google Doc or a slide or a worksheet or anything like that. There's nothing there because what I'm expecting is something down here in the private comments. And then I can read that student's response, and then I can respond back to them privately. And I can create a dialogue one-on-one with just that student. Now, I will say this. This is a little different for students. So if this is something that you potentially wanted to start doing with students, I will say this. You do have to teach them how to do this. And I'm going to show you why. If I go back to the instructions, I can see in the instructions that this student right here did not understand what she was supposed to do because she put hers as a class public comment, not as a private comment. So this is one of those things, if it's something that interests you in creating that dialogue with students, that individualized dialogue, they do have to be taught how to do this, like with any of the other tech tools. But once you teach them, then it becomes a habit and they know what to do with those. But just again, just be really, you just have to be mindful with the private comments in that you can't delete them and you cannot edit them once they have been sent. So you just always want to reread or double check anything you send before you actually hit send to them.
Hey, Meg, there's a quick question is, can you only have private comments through assignments?
No, well, you know what? I believe so, yes. But they can be on any type of assignment. So they could be on, in Google Classroom, they have all those different types of assignments. So when you, as the teacher, create an assignment, any type of these assignments that you create, whether it's an assignment, a quiz, a question, even just material that you post, any of that stuff that's there, they will have the ability to send you a private comment on. So that ability is there on any type of those assignments. They cannot send you just a private comment from the stream. It has to kind of be linked to something. So hopefully that makes sense. Is there anything else with the private comments? Frozen. Anything else? Are we there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Probably my mic was off. I'm so sorry.
All right. I was like, is everything okay?
I'm so sorry. So we just had a couple comments, and there aren't any major questions. Some people were saying that they could edit their private comments, but I don't know if that's on their end. And
because normally once they're there, there's that option to delete them and edit them. Like they're kind of a more permanent feature within Google. Those private comments are.
And so the other, there's no other questions if you want to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So most of us are aware of those features. So now I want to talk about the gradebook aspect. So it is so important, especially right now, with everything going on, that we are providing, creating that dialogue with our students in regards to their work and what they're doing. The Gradebook Comments that Google Classroom has, they are not just to put on students' assignments when they're done. They're kind of there for you to use all the time. And I think as teachers, it's really important that we are not just looking at a student's work when it's finished, but we are kind of looking at their work all throughout the process, so we can help provide them the support that they need to kind of continually edit themselves until they get to that, finalized product that is a good quality product, right? Assignments don't need to just be one and done. Like it's done, this is my grade, I'm moving on. So there are a lot of different gradebook features. So I want to talk about some of these features that are in the gradebook. So let me pull back up this student demo class. So I have some assignments in here. So I'm going to show you this assignment right here. So this is an assignment. Each kid was given a Google slide. And we'll pull this up so we can see some of these comment type features that are there. So I'm just going to pull up a student's assignment. Now, when you assign something to a student, and especially when you're using like the G Suite, so you're using like Google Docs or Slides, Google Sheets, Google Drawings, any of those types of things, my number one suggestion to you would be make sure you go ahead and add that assignment to the assignment, attach it, and make a copy for each student. Because one of the things, if you as the teacher don't make a copy for each student and attach it, and the expectation is, oh, well, they'll just go get a doc on their own and they'll just add it when they're finished, you don't get access to their work while they're in process. So if we want to be able to see what a student's doing, or in this case, this has been assigned and what they're not doing, then that's something that you kind of want to add to it so you can see it, whether it's been turned in or not, anything like that. So just a couple of things with the gradebook. So first thing, like right here, you can see here's one student. There's a little drop-down menu right here. I can see where it's assigned. He hasn't completed it. He hasn't turned it in. I can scroll through the students a couple of different ways. I can use this drop-down menu. I can see the list of all of my students. I can see who's turned things in, who has the assignment assigned to them, but maybe hasn't turned it in. And I can sort these by first name, last name, and then also by status. It also, it defaults to last name because that's kind of, teachers do love alphabetical order. But you can change that if that's not what you prefer. So I really like this feature. It makes it a lot faster to be able to go through assignments with students because I don't have to open a million different tabs. I can grade them all within here. There is another way right here, these right and left arrows. You can use these as well. And you notice like if I hover over them, it'll tell me who's coming up next as far as grading their work. So what I see here is basically just a Google slide. And let me show you one where there's actually something on it so you can see, so it looks a little bit more visually appealing maybe. So here is this student's work. I can easily see it. If they have multiple slides, I'll be able to see all those slides over there. And if I hit this little drop down menu right here, I can actually see all of those features that are in a Google slide. So I can see his name at the top, the title, all of those things. Over here on the right-hand side, I can see the student's name, a spot to put the grade, and I can add a private comment on that student's work. So if I wanted to tell him that I thought he did a great job, I could add that in. And when he gets his student work back, when I return it to him, he'll be able to see that private comment on his work. And one of the great things I like about Google and the comment features is that they timestamp everything, which is awesome. So it's just so students can see when they're getting that feedback. So this is all great, but what I really love in the Google Gradebook is this right here. This is the comment bank. So the comment bank is a way to actually provide comments to students and do it really quickly. So you can see over here on the right, I have all of these comments, but maybe you don't. All the comment banks start out with 0 comments in. You as the teacher can personalize your comment bank to the types of comments that maybe you would use regularly on students' work in the classroom. Kind of think back to like the old school, like where teachers had the stamps, right? You know? So this is your version of like that. It's like a digital kind of stamp. So there's a couple different ways that you can add comments to the comment bank. There's a plus sign right here. So if I click on this, I can type something in and it'll add it as a comment bank. And every single thing I put in here, I can edit. If you want to put in more than one comment, you can just hit enter or return and go down. Each comment does have to be on its own line. I will say that. And then once you get that done, you can just click add and it'll put that comment in. Another way that I actually like to put comments in, because normally each year I have new Google Classrooms, I'll actually hit add to bank. And what I have is a common gradebook comment Google Doc with all of the comments on different lines. And what I can do is just copy all of these just using my shortcut key. So I got Command C. And if I come back into the gradebook, I can then hit Command V and it'll add all those comments in for me at one time. And the nice thing about doing this is you can share it with teammates and you can keep it for year after year every time you get a new Google Classroom. So that's a really nice little feature. So Tara, I'm gonna pause right there before I show the next feature to see if anyone has any questions with that part.
Someone had said, when you make a comment on a student's slide, do they get an email notification that you've made a comment, or do you have to actually return the work in order for them to see the comment?
So they can, when a student turns their work in, you know, it's submitted, right? So once it gets returned, essentially it goes, and when it goes into submission mode, essentially it goes to view only for the students. So they could click on it and they would be able to view it. If they want to fix anything, they have to unsubmit it. Most of the students get email notifications in Google Classroom about everything. However, if you ever looked at a student's email, they get like a ridiculous number of emails a day because they get an email every single time something happens in Google Classroom. So there are email settings for students, like of when they should get stuff in their email. I try not to play around with those too much just because I don't want the kids to turn it completely off. So they don't get anything. But there are some specific email settings that students can get to. And just like with the teacher, I'll show you really quick. When you're in your Google Classroom, if you go to that main menu and you open this up, down at the bottom is settings. And you have all of these different email type settings that you can create. Most teachers turn their email notifications just off completely, right? But some of the email notifications are actually worthwhile, like when a student turns their work in late or they resubmit their work. Like those types of emails as a teacher, I would want to get just because it's a reminder to me, like, oh, I need to go back and regrade this student's work or grade it for the first time if it was late. So students have some of these settings as well. So for their work also.
And they'll get an email notification when you comment on the assignment. So if you're commenting and you said, hey, I've added my comments and my feedback, feel free to review them, they'll get that notification if you send them like a private comment on there.
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, like, I will gladly, my understanding was that it freezes basically the sharing permissions. And so it's almost like a time capsule when your student turns it into you so that there aren't any changes that can be made. But what I'll do is, as Megan is presenting, let me go on to my mock Google assignment or Google Classroom, and I'll play around and see what I can do for you all, just to kind of be sure, because Google's constantly changing and constantly.
Yes. Yes. Well, and even it used to be with the email notifications, you either just turned them on or turned them off. There were not all these options like, oh, just let me know if the kids turn in work late, or just let me know when they resubmit it. I mean, like normally in the past, you would have to teach your students, if you turn it in late or if you resubmit it, I need you to email me so I'll go back in. Well, now Google has it set where they will automatically generate that email on the student's behalf. So, which is great.
Yes, right. And Caroline, yes, always return work, because then what happens is it goes back to that student and it opens up those sharing settings. And so, I mean, I'll play around with it, but my understanding is that that as you're kind of giving feedback, grading, looking over their work, and you're making comments on their individual slides or on their document, they're not going to get like 300 notifications that you're putting comments all over this, or that you're doing feedback and that kind of thing, until you return it. Then they just get the copy with all the comments. But again, I'll go and play.
And one of the things I will say is, like, I've had a lot of teachers say stuff to me about, well, why should I put comments on their work? They don't care about them. They don't do anything with them. And I think part of it is how we're using them. Most of us maybe only go in and put comments on a student's work when it's completed, rather than going in when they're in process. And I think going in when they're in process is really important. And it has to basically become part of the process. They have to be taught that, like, when you as the teacher go in and put those comments, that those comments are to be valued. And those comments are not there to just say, oh, you're doing all this stuff wrong, you need to fix everything. But those comments should also be like, hey, I really like this. It's kind of that whole idea of like the sandwich mode, right? Like a positive comment, then maybe something they need to work on, and then back it up again with another positive comment, just in those kind of regards. So like, I really like this one. And before you just jump into something that maybe is something that they need to fix first.
Yeah, and I want to just kind of say something that, since we started this conversation, Meg, it's like, the turn-in button doesn't mean that all of a sudden you magically get access. Yeah. You always have access as the teacher. So if you are attaching a Google slide and you've made a copy for each student, or a Google Doc, or whatever it is, that once you click that button to make a copy, then you share that access as editors. And so you can get in there and you can make comments and you can do all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And your students will get email notifications just like you get email notifications if you've made a comment. Mm-hmm. So like Megan said, it should be about a process, and it's about the idea that, we're learning along the way and we're revising along the way, and it becomes part of your classroom culture. When you click that turn-in button, it freezes it in time. And so, students aren't going to be able to know that you're writing all over it or commenting all over it until you send it back to them. They can't really even view it. Like, they can't do much with it. It's frozen. So that is something else. If you don't want to deal with the return and turn in workflow, just share it with them and you'll have access to jump on there. Absolutely. Any document that's a Google document.
Yes, any of those G Suites. And so one of the things, like going along with that, so like say, for example, this student completed his work. All right, this student did a great job on his work. So I want to make sure that student is aware that I see his work and that I'm proud of their work. So I want to comment on his individual work. So maybe like I like all of his pictures. So I'm just going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on this comment button, and I'm going to add a comment to this student's work. And one of the great features, so, I am a child, I was a child in the 80s and a teen in the 90s. And what I grew up knowing as the number sign and the pound sign is now the hashtag. So when you have all these comments in your comment bank, if you actually type in the hashtag, the number sign, shift 3, the minute I type that in, if you notice, all these comments start to pop up. And Google starts to use its AI. And if I want to tell him I like his pictures, so I write here, great pictures, and I can put that in and comment it. And all I had to do was add it to my comment bank one time, and then just use that shortcut of the hashtag. And I just started to type in the first letter, and anything that had a G in it started to pop up.
Yeah, you can also have paragraph long comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah, they don't have to be short. You can keep typing as long as you want.
Yeah, and so when you're writing the same paragraph or multi-sentence comment over and over again, use this. And I will just say, like Megan said, this only works when you're inserting the comment in the actual doc. It doesn't work when you're trying to do like a private comment or a group comment. This is when you're commenting on the actual work.
Yes. And so that makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot faster. But kind of going back to what Tara was saying a second ago, since I went in and I made this a Google slide, and I gave a copy to each student in the very beginning of me creating the assignment. If I have a student who, say, for example, like this student, who when I go to their slide, I see absolutely nothing there, I can still put a comment on their work. But obviously the type of comment I would put on this student's work, who hasn't done anything compared to a student who has done everything, is going to be a little bit different. So what I might actually want to come in and do is make a comment to this student. So I'm just pressing that comment icon, pressing comment. Maybe the student needs help. So I could, one of my common comments is, do you need help? Right? And I can put that on so the student, when he goes in, he'll know I'm here to help him however I can. So I can comment even when there's no work, to let them know, like, look, I'm watching, I'm looking, I'm checking on you. I want to help you. Let me, right? Jerry Maguire, help me, help you, type of a thing. So you can put that when students don't even have anything in there, as long as you've made a copy for them.
I don't know if you can answer this, but it says, does the comment show in the notification email, or does it just have the message your teacher left a comment?
Normally when students, because like I have a filter, so we have a school Google Classroom, and I do like a would you rather question every day. And some students will put in a public comment and some students will put in a private comment. And I have all the private comments like filtered to a folder in my email. And normally if I get one of those emails, when I click on it, I can see what they commented. When I read that email, I can see what they actually said in there. Yes. Now, I would assume the same thing would be true on the student's end as well.
I would too.
Yeah.
And there's no more questions on that one. Just
okay.
I'm glad that the hashtag trick was shown, because I know a lot of people game changer mind.
Yeah, it's such a time saver. Like if you have certain comments that you use all the time, like it is a game changer to just put them in and just use them over and over again. And as Tara said, they can be as long as you want. I would say though, if you want, especially, so this sheet right here that has all these common comments, will be in the resources. So you'll be able to have a copy of this. And then of course you can edit this and add anything that you want to use on your own. And if you have longer comments that you want to put in there, you can put them in here. It's easier to type it to me in a Google Doc than in that little box that shows up in Classroom, especially if it's going to be something lengthy.
Yeah. And so hold on real quick. Casey says that the comment does show up and you can actually comment back in the email. So it's the same that we have, the same feature. So when you are editing or collaborating with someone and you can just do that via email, previously, remember, we had to go into the actual document and then comment there. But now we can do all that in the email. So Google's made it simple for us.
Yes.
And the other thing I want to say is, adding images. Like with Megan's document, she has emojis on there. Can you show your comments how you have some of those emojis? Sure. Those will translate over into the comment. And I, a former Spanish teacher, like all of your accents, if you have a student that maybe like you need to kind of also put some comments in another language or whatever, all that stuff, it's dynamic. It works the same way. So it's not just text. You can do other things as well.
Yeah. Icons are universal. So, those things are great. I mean, every kid knows, no matter what language they speak, every kid knows what a smiley face means. Right?
Yep, the check mark, all of it.
All of that kind of stuff. So using those icons are great. If you don't know how to access your emoji keyboard on your MacBook, if you hold down, when you're typing something, if you hold down the Command, Control, and the space bar, your emoji keyboard will actually pop up. Same thing like if you have an iPhone. And then you can use any of those emojis in what you're typing. So if you're not aware of that, there are extensions that do it as well. But to me, it's just as easy to just use the keyboard that's available there.
Command, Control, Spacebar.
Yeah, Command, Control, Spacebar that emoji keyboard will pop up.
In the chat for all of you guys.
Yes.
Real quick question. When a public comment is made below a student comment, does the entire classroom get a notification?
I don't know about on the public comments, if the entire classroom, because if you're directing it at a student, it would just kind of go to the student. So if you're responding to an individual student. But I will say this, though, for them to get a notification, again, that would be a notification that they would turn on in their email settings. But if I'm being honest, most kids, especially the elementary kids, they're not really checking that email like that. They're just going to keep coming back to the classroom itself. So, it's a little bit easier for them to see. So so look at this. In live time, this person actually responded back to me. So, and I don't have any public comment email notifications. I just have private comment email notifications. So, I can see that comment back is directed to me as the teacher. Any other questions with what we've seen so far in the gradebook? Because there are a couple other things that, this thing I can suggest I can do right here. So one of the other ways that you can give comments to students is actually to give them video feedback. So I really, really, really wish that Google had like a video feature in here for commenting, but they do not. However, you can use like a little just everyday hack. So up here on my extension bar, I have the Loom extension. So if you don't know what Loom is, a Loom is basically just like a video recorder, a screen recorder, very similar to Screencastify. But I find that Loom has quicker load times, so it's really easy. So if you had a student's work and you wanted to give them some feedback, but you wanted it to be like a video, you can actually just record the screen like you see it. So what I would do if I was commenting to a student is I would hide the side panel so all they see on the screen is their work. And then I would come up to my Loom icon, and just like Screencastify, it's going to give me the options to screen and camera, screen only, or camera only. So it'll give me those icons. I can see the microphone icons. Typically, I would just do screen only, but since right now we're in this e-learning world, I would actually do camera so the student could see my face, because I think that's part of that connection. And then what I would do is I would just click Start Recording. All right. I can pick my settings. I'm just going to do whole screen for right now. It's going to count me down. And once it counts me down, I can start making my comments. I would call the student by name. I would say, hey, Brody, I see you haven't done any work. I'm just want to check on you and make sure everything's okay. If you need any help, just reach out to me via email or just try and touch base at the school. And then when I'm finished, I just hit this little check mark and it'll automatically take me to a new window. And this is one of the things I really like is that because I was in the assignment, and the assignment is the second assignment on August 18th, it adds that to the name. And what I can do is then type in the student's name. And the minute I do that, right, I have my little video for the student. I can actually come over here and hit copy link and go back in to comment on the student's work. And I can hit that I want to comment. And in that box, I can hit paste my link. And when the student goes in, they can click on that link and see a little video from me with any kind of feedback or information that I want to share with them. So it's not built into Google, but it's a nice little workaround to give video feedback to students within the gradebook.
No comments right now. Someone had said that Loom records backwards. Oh, sorry, no questions. There's one comment that Loom records backwards when you're doing a video. And so Caroline had said that there is a flip screen that you can turn on and off.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just, you can play around with it, but it's sometimes, you know, it's hard right now because I would typically say, like, we know our students the best, but some of us are getting brand new kids and we don't really know them. So I think the more we can do things like that for our students, we can kind of help to create some of that connection with the students, just so they can be able to know that we are here and we're not just here to grade their work when it's finished, but we're here to help them along the way, right? We want them to move forward and get better. And so we have to just constantly be checking in on their work, whether it's turned in or not.
Yeah. And you know, some of these students, they don't know the sound of our voice yet, you know, very well, and they don't know our face very well. So having those kind of, especially in a large Google Meet, it can get chaotic and, you know, it is really nice to have those moments where you can engage with them through audio and have your face on there so that they do see the real you and get to know the real you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last thing that I want to show is the rubric feature in the gradebook. So Google has really kind of upped their game, and they've actually added a feature where you can add rubrics to assignments. And you can create those rubrics right from within the assignment. So this is an example. You'll notice I have an assignment here. Students have to read something and then write a paragraph, and they can see what the criteria is. And if I click into View Assignment, it automatically defaults into the student work, but I'm going to go under Instructions. So when the students see the rubric, they can actually click on it and they can see, like, what is expected. Oh, I have to write a complete paragraph, and it tells them what that is. I have to put in a topic sentence. I have to have a conclusion sentence. Spelling and grammar mistakes have to be at a minimum. And this is a 1-point rubric, so they just get 1 point for each of these. You can add in scaled rubrics as well. And rubrics are great because when you go in to grade the student's assignment, so I'm just going to pull up the student's work so you can see it on the grading front. When I go in to grade the student's assignment, because I have that rubric in there, I can easily see all 4 of those things that I've added to my rubric. And I can add the points in, and it'll automatically tally that student's score for me. So the rubric feature is really, really nice. And it's super simple to use. Me especially, if I was a writing teacher, and those of us who know, like, those writing expectations for our students in different grade levels, you can create these rubrics and share them with your classmates, or create them in a demo class that you never delete, and then you always have access to them. And so that's a really nice feature to be able to have, because they're right there, and they're very clear cut. The students know what is expected, right? I mean, I can remember the years of going onto RubyStar and creating rubrics that way. This is all done right here within the assignment, which is awesome. And you can do them within the assignment, or you can even import them from a spreadsheet as well. So when you create an assignment and you go into this assignment and you put in your information, over here on the right-hand side, this is where you can actually look to see and add a rubric. So it's going to give you these three options to create one. You can reuse one. So if you have one already made, you can find it from another class and just use that same rubric again, or you can create them in sheets and import them. And I have a video on how you can do that in those slides, and you'll get access to the slides, and there's little videos on how to do all of this stuff again, because I know it's a lot. But like, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, so yeah, it is 1:53 right now. And if you do need to take a break and get to your other session, by all means, please do. These resources, this amazing slideshow that Megan has put together, will be available in the Canvas course. And if you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to us again, or your building DIS will be able to help you as well. So if there's any last kind of comments, feel free to put them in the chat. But Megan, whatever you kind of want to wrap up with.
So the last thing I just want to say is, so you'll get this slide, and just so you know, on all of these, the different types of comments, I have put in short little videos if you want more information on how to do that or need a reminder. There's also a couple of really good videos on adding the rubrics that explain it in just a few minutes really quickly. And then just some resources again on how to give meaningful feedback to our students and how to make sure that we are checking in with them along the process, throughout the process, not just at the end. We want our students to constantly revisit what they've done to just see how can I improve it and make it the best version possible.
Well, thank you everybody for your time. I hope you get a nice little break before your next session. Megan, thank you again for sharing this wonderful resource, and I highly recommend you guys checking out her resource page when you get the link to this, because there are some excellent sources and links that she has put on here. So thank you again, everybody, and I hope you have a great weekend.